Oh, California, look what you've done. Look what you've done to me. Oh, Chicago, I'm coming home. I'm coming home to you.
Welcome to episode 77 of the Hipsters United podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me this week are Andrew.
Hello.
Alex.
Hey.
And Susan.
Hello.
This week, the final song from Tiergarten for the near future was released, and it was Owata. What started out as a fairly simple song in the same vein as something like Try, Try, Try became more of a rock song last summer, and in the process it picked up the California Look What You've Done bridge. But in the studio release, it was kind of a combination of the two, with some of the lead guitar work getting replaced with synthesizer earlier on in the song, and the California bridge did stay, as you heard at the beginning of this podcast. So, Andrew, we now have our canonical version of Owata. What do you think?
Yeah, I was surprised when I first saw it, or first heard it, and then my first reactions were positive after the initial, wow. Sort of, hey, where's the guitars part? Like everyone, when we had the initial post about Owata on the blog, everyone's had a sort of similar reaction to
Synthesizers!
All the synthesizers. And once again, Billy's forsaken the guitar. But I liked it. It's very fitting in the mix of Tiergarten. It sounds, you hear a lot of the things that when we had the podcast about the kaleidoscope style a few podcasts ago now. I think it fits in very well with that sort of style that we pointed out, or our guest podcaster pointed out for us. So I like it, and it's going to be a little frustrating if we have to wait till fall to hear another song, but we'll see how that works out. We got a video at least coming up.
What about you, Susan? I know that when we talked last time, both of us, I think, were a little bit skeptical about a synthesizer-heavy Owata.
Yeah, I think what I said in the last podcast was I really liked the Chris Isaak version, which wasn't totally bare bones because it had the horns. I enjoyed the horns. But, when I first heard this, I was kind of like, I will admit, I was like, what's going on? Lots of swirling noises here. But I think I'm warming up to it at least. I think what I've decided, the more I've listened to it, it is very similar to the version that they played on tour last summer, I think. Obviously plus the synthesizer. But I think in terms of the guitar sound and the structure of the song, it's pretty similar to that version. He's just added in the swirling synthesizers there. I don't know. It is becoming, I think at this point, I am willing to say, yeah, this synthesizer sound is kind of becoming a trademark of Tiergarten. And, let me put it this way. I haven't totally made up my mind about how I feel about it in Owata, but I appreciate that he's trying to have a consistent style to Tiergarten, which I didn't necessarily feel was the case after the first, let's say, 3 songs. But now I think it's becoming more obvious kind of what that sound is. I also think it adds a lot of production value. I don't really expect Billy Corgan to just release a bunch of acoustic demos. You know what I mean? Even the American Gothic EP, which was kind of acoustic-y music, it wasn't just acoustic demos. Something like Cottonwood Symphony is like a basic acoustic demo that he tags on as a bonus track. I don't expect him to release that as his main track. I just don't think that's his style. So, I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to hear, I don't know, because who knows what's going to happen with Oceania. But I think that this could well be a continuing trend. So I think, I don't know. I don't want to say I don't like it, but I think I am getting, so I like it. It was a big shock at first, I admit, with Owata. So
It was a big shock for me also. The first time I heard it, I was the same way. I was like, "Whoa, like that's weird. It like the synthesizer just doesn't work." But then I went back and listened to the different versions of Owata all in a row. I listened to the version from the 20th anniversary tour, and then the Chris Isaak version with the horns, and then the rockin' version from last summer, and then the studio version. And you can really hear the song hasn't changed all that much. It changed in tempo a little bit, and it got that the bridge with the California part when it became more of the rock song. But the lyrics haven't changed very much at all, and the song itself is still basically the same song. When you listen to it in that context, the synthesizer doesn't seem as jarring, at least not to me. It just seemed like, oh, well, there was that lead guitar that they did live, and they just kind of replaced some of that with the synthesizer in the beginning. But I mean, if it had been the other way around, if we had heard the studio version first, and it was synthesizer-y in the beginning, and then we went out and saw a live show with it, and they replaced the synthesizer with a guitar, I think everyone would be like, oh, well, obviously, like that's what happens when you have a studio band that then goes out on tour and doesn't have a synthesizer player, like they're a four-piece with a guitar, and that's how they played the song live. I mean, when you think about it that way, it doesn't seem all that strange, and the song is definitely growing on me even in just a few days. It's gone from the, oh, wow, like crazy synthesizer to like, oh, it fits well with the other recent Teargarden songs. And Susan, I think you're right. Like, I think that he has kind of established this as the Teargarden sound. It's not. I think people have a little bit exaggerated the amount of synthesizer. It's not just like it's not a 1980s like synth song with like a little bit of drums in the background or something. It's still a normal song with synthesizer in it also. And I mean, I'm just glad we got a studio version of it, so that in 15 years it doesn't become the next Towers of Rabble, where everyone's like, oh, why didn't we ever get, where's Owata? Where's Owata?
I think it's great. I think it's probably the best, or the second best song in Teargarden, Song for a Son still being my favorite. I totally agree with you guys that it's almost like there's kind of an oh moment with this song when you realize it like puts Teargarden in perspective in terms of what's the sonic aesthetic of the album. So it's kind of funny that this is the last one that we're getting before this album within an album, because it does seem like there's some consistency in people reacting and sort of Owata making people realize what is the sound of Teargarden in a way that after we'd had 3 songs last year, people hadn't really digested, I think.
I also noticed that I'm guessing at least because of the announcement, this song actually did get some press and some publicity, whereas Lightning Strikes, yeah. I don't know, I don't think it ever got any. Like, did you guys see any sort of coverage of Lightning Strikes at all?
No, but I mean, that said, what kind of coverage did this get? I mean, I guess there was Spin's website, and did Rolling Stone say anything? But other than that, it's just like a few blogs that are all part of the same sister blog network. I don't think we should be too excited about the press coverage for
Village Voice, I think, did.
Yeah. I just don't. It's not as though it has made. I think it would be an overstatement to say it's made an impact on the mainstream rock community.
I mean, I think it all goes back to why Billy is going back to the album format.
Yeah, he says he's doing an album.
Like, it's just.
Everyone reports he's doing an album. Everyone will report when it comes out, like Jason was tweeting.
Yeah.
And the single. But I don't know how much that is a function of the fact that no one cares when you release songs, or a function of just the state of interest in the band. I mean, I think aren't there like rappers who release? They just put things online and everyone goes crazy. Like Lil Wayne releases 4 songs and people go and. Well, I mean, I don't really know, but it seems to me like there are musicians who are releasing music in unorthodox ways, and it gets attention from the online press in the way Teargarden has not been getting attention.
Yeah, I just don't think it's worked in the way that Billy wanted it to. He kind of thought that by releasing songs one at a time, people would treat every song as a single, and every song would get covered like a single from Lady Gaga gets covered. Whereas I think people are treating them like singles, and they're treating them like singles in a bad way. It's like people are complaining if it's not the greatest song they've ever heard. Whereas if all these songs got released at once, there were 10 of them we got plus the bonus tracks. If they had just all gotten released, as one package, people wouldn't have picked out the one song they didn't like and like just complain about it. Whereas when it gets released as one song, if people don't like it, then it gets a lot of negative attention. But I don't think it didn't work, I don't think, in the way that he wanted, where I think he wanted it to get each song to get a lot of positive attention, and it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just hasn't done so. So I think it is a good time to make a switch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been more resistance to it, just because it is. I mean, you guys talked about this last week. It is a step away from the 11 4-track EP concept, without question. And I guess the fact that at least the hardcore fan community seems to have responded more or less positively to the idea, and the mainstream coverage, no one really jumped down his throat about it, I don't think. Maybe it's just that people still kind of like albums, and people are just excited about getting another Pumpkins album.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that the people who did kind of embrace the concept of, we're going to get a new song all the time, kind of got tired of the all the time being, maybe it'll be every month.
Weeks.
Oh, maybe it'll be 2 months. Oh, it'll be 3 or 4 months, and just never really.
That's the remaining question for me. And I would like to know if they actually had come out every 2 weeks. I think it would have been a lot different, because I think that it's easier to digest, sort of a cute little song like Spangled or Stitch in Time or something. It's like, okay, great, yeah. And then in 2 weeks there's Freak comes out, as opposed to Spangled comes out and then it's months and months before the next song comes out. And I don't know how much of it is the extended wait between each release, but it feels like there was the expectation going in was it was going to be a little bit more frequent.
Well, I think even Billy kind of expected it would be more frequent going
right, so
in.
The question is what happened.
Yeah.
By all accounts, he's an incredibly prolific songwriter, and he's always bragging about like how he's got songs coming out of his ears, and he's written dozens of songs. And
I don't think that was the problem either. I don't think
Right.
it was that he didn't have the songs. It just.
Well, so what's the
I
problem?
think it's the
I have no
partnerships.
theory.
The partnerships. So
With the
like he
websites, but
wants.
those are so stupid.
Well, he's surely getting some money. Like, I don't even know. I mean,
You think so?
who knows how much it is? Yeah, I think so.
Those dumb websites have money to give him. Oh, maybe.
Rolling Stone has money to give
Yeah,
him.
oh, that was a good one. Yeah, the Rolling
Yeah,
Stones.
I mean,
was good. Yeah, sure. There have been a couple
I mean,
like cats, like the AOL Music, maybe. Sure, fine, but
Well, I don't think like the Matthew Leone did. He did that one charitably, right? Obviously, but I think that he kind of had this idea that there was going to be all this buzz around it, and that he would be able to set up these partnerships, where he was getting some money, and I don't think that's probably panned out the way he had hoped. I think that's another. This is just my private theory. I mean, who knows? I'm just like pulling this out of my.
Haven't seen since 2007. Then we've seen consistent frustration from Billy about the level of interest in the band. I mean, he complains that at the Zeitgeist shows, he's like, or there was some quote recently where he was like, I could just tell people hadn't even listened to the album because we play a song from the album and people didn't know it. And now I'm sure he's disappointed with how many downloads there have been of these new songs. So it seems like the problem is that there just isn't the ecstatic level of public interest that he wants there to be. And I don't know that the release method is really the way to attack that. I mean, the way to attack that, I think, is to write a huge hit, and that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I think he's got it in him. I mean, I think the Foo Fighters are a great example of it. I mean, well, Jason was talking about that on Twitter, but I mean, there are bands that have remained, that still have the capacity to put out a song that gets people interested. And I think there's no reason.
Not
Billy can't
me.
You don't think so?
Sorry. No, not Foo Fighters. It was like
yeah,
one of
maybe
the few
that's
shows I've ever like walked out of. Sorry.
Maybe that's the so I'm just thinking. I mean, I'm just thinking like there was a few years ago they came out with some song. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but like people know that one. I think. I just mean. I just don't know how much that the Pumpkins have put out since the reunion it has made any sort of mark on the general consciousness of rock listeners. I mean, I guess maybe Tarantula. The problem is I'm way too into my head is way too far into the Pumpkins hardcore online sand to have any concept of what people know about. But I guess my point is, it seems like the problem consistently is not enough people are listening to the music. And I'm not sure that the solution is to find this magical release method that's going to all of a sudden cause people to have interest that wasn't previously there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think it's probably kind of jarring to Billy also because I think he thought part of the reason was cost. So
like no one wants to buy an album?
we're gonna
Yeah.
Garden thing for free. You know, there's no excuse. We'll just
Didn't Zeitgeist sell like 500,000 copies? I mean, his objection isn't that people didn't buy it. I think his objection is people bought it and didn't listen to it.
Yeah, well, I think he thought that, well, maybe the reason that, people it isn't getting out to as many people is that people would have had to pay for it. Because, when he did the tour last summer, he would ask at these shows, how many out there have downloaded or know that you could download our songs like on the website for free. And it always seemed like he was kind of like, I don't know about annoyed, but kind of frustrated that it wasn't everyone in the audience, like
there'd be people there who like maybe bought Zeitgeist who didn't know that there's music on because there just hasn't been coverage of it. Yeah, that's interesting.
From his perspective, it has to be incredibly frustrating to be playing a show and people have paid, $30 or $35 for a ticket to come to your show, and you have a website that has your latest song
free music
on it, and the people who have paid $35 to come to the show haven't heard those songs. It's got to be like, what else can I do? I'm giving these songs away for free on our website. What else can I do?
Yeah.
Continuing with last week's discussion of the album reissues and re-releases, the plan for 2012 is for Mellon Collie, Aeroplane Flies High, and Adore to get the bonus disc treatment. Alex, what are you expecting from these reissues, and what are you hoping to see specifically from this era?
Well, I am trying to keep my expectations as low as possible. The reason for that is I'm worried that the fans are thinking that we're just this treasure trove of never before heard music is going to be unleashed in an avalanche on us at some point. And I'm afraid that these reissues are going to come out and it's going to be like, okay, Gish is louder and there's like 2 songs that all the hardcore fans already have. And I think that might be cool, and I'm actually interested in getting these on vinyl. Billy suggested in the video that they're going to be on vinyl, which I think is really cool, and I would rather have that than a new CD. I'm just worried that's what's going to happen. That said, if they actually do these digital box sets and release all this stuff like you guys were talking about in the last podcast that people haven't heard, that is going to be wildly awesome. And, it seems like they might have all this soundboard stuff from across all the eras, and I think that'll be great. My concern, I guess, so we've been talking about Tiergarten. It's like we believe that he's written dozens of songs, and a year and a half into Tiergarten, 10 have been released. So now it's like, to analogize, he has thousands of tracks that he can release, and I'm just concerned about whether they're going to get released, given that it seems like a lot of things still aren't being released that he could release at any point. So I'm nervous about it. That's my bottom line. but that said, maybe it's all the EMI stuff, and now that that's worked out, maybe there is going to be a ton of stuff coming out. So I don't know.
Well, we did get a little bit of a hint this week on Twitter. Billy said that, I think it was on Twitter, he said that EMI had asked, in talking about Gish, they had asked for a bonus disc of material. So I think that I at least was kind of wondering, is it going to be Gish with whatever space is left on it just with bonus tracks? Gish is a pretty short album, so you could probably fit like 3 or 4 bonus tracks on there. Is that what we're going to get? But it sounds like, or at least
even a double disc Gish, I think is not going to have stuff that we don't have yet. I think that's going to be online, if at all. I think what you said last week about the idea of like the most mainstream of the sort of stuff the hardcore fans have now, that's what makes it onto these physical releases. And the stuff that we want, I think, is online, if anything.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I think I'm a little more excited about the Mellon Collie and Adore releases, because I think there's more stuff that we haven't heard. If I think about it, if I think about stuff associated with the Gish era, right? There's all the pre-Gish demos. That's like the main collection of music that's out there. We've heard most, if not all of it, quite a bit of it. We've heard a lot of things anyway. And I think a lot of it's high quality. People who are casual fans of the Pumpkins probably haven't heard it. So I think that's what's likely to be on that second disc, right? But if you think about Mellon Collie and the Aeroplane Flies High, what are they going to put on bonus discs for those, leaving aside the fact that the Aeroplane Flies High was like 5 discs to begin with anyway? Exactly how are they going to do that? They're going to make another CD. I think there's tons of stuff from the Mellon Collie era that is not out there, and people are like, no way, man, there's like between Aeroplane and Mellon Collie, there's like however many songs already. But if you think about Pastichio Medley, I mean, I think a lot of those are full songs. I really do. And a few of them we've heard, maybe like 4 or something like that, or they became something later on, or the riffs did, but I think a lot of those are actual songs. I really do. And we have never heard that. So, I mean, considering that if they re-release Mellon Collie and Aeroplane as like 2 separate releases, like a Mellon Collie plus a bonus disc, an Aeroplane plus a bonus disc, that's a ton of stuff that I think will be mostly new stuff unless he sticks to just like live concert recordings. I think we have a chance to get a lot of new stuff there, more so than we do with something like Gish or even Siamese Dream. So I don't know. I'm actually in that respect a little bit more excited about that. Also excited about Adore. It's one of I enjoy that album. I think there's probably quite a bit of stuff we haven't heard. I think there's some demos online for Adore and things like that, but I would be, very interested to hear some more of those things too. So I don't know, but maybe I'm not perceiving the way they're going to do the Mellon Collie and Tiergarten releases. I'm just thinking like a Mellon Collie triple disc or something, and then an Aeroplane Flies High, like condensed into one disc, or maybe like a 2 or 3 discs for that. But maybe that's not really what they're going to end up doing. Who knows? But I think that potentially 2012 could have more rare archival stuff released than 2011, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's likely.
Yeah,
my expectations are low for timetables of releases these days.
Yeah.
So there's a whole Gravity Demos CD, or 2. Well, that was a demo that Billy purposefully leaked back in the day of Mellon Collie era riffs and stuff. And it's on, who knows if those were, the best stuff he had that he wanted to show off, or were just some stuff he threw together at the time. So, there might be something better than, because all those Gravity demos were mostly all, 0 lyrics and just the band jamming and developing songs. So there's that whole collection of songs and from the Mellon Collie era. And certainly, we've already mentioned it once, but Trials of Ravel is one of those long pined for songs that Billy
purely because we don't have it. Like I don't think it's this great song that people just have to have. It's just that we don't have a studio version of it, and we have so many studio versions of other
things. Yeah, it's one of those things that, and then I think almost the myth of that song was sort of built even further when Billy did his Aeroplane, or that magazine article he did with coinciding with the release of the Aeroplane Flies High, where he said, "Oh yeah, I was going to put Trials of Ravel on the Tonight single, but my friend said, hey, you should put Blank on instead." No one really liked Blank. Was one of those least loved songs ever. So,
and it really was just a demo. Like talking about releasing just an acoustic demo. I mean,
I wish I could think. That always really bugs me, by the way. that rhyme there.
I mean, I don't think it had any sort of production on it at all. It was just like the demo put on the disc.
Exactly. That was Billy's bedroom 8-track song there. Exactly.
Can I throw out, I think, so both, soundboard recordings of shows are great, and songs we haven't heard, great. The thing I actually am most interested in is other versions of songs that we do already know. And I think I say that because these days, or ever since 2007, when I kind of got back into the band, I think the thing that my primary interest in the band has been songs changing over time and different versions of songs. And I think watching Owata change over the past few years has been really interesting. And like the different versions of Try, Try, Try and Blue Skies Bring Tears and all these songs that got mentioned last week are great. Do you guys remember whenever you first got like the Adore demos or the Machina acoustic demos? back in the day, and like hearing just Billy on the acoustic guitar playing these songs that you knew from the album. Or I guess I don't know, maybe those got leaked before the albums came out, but I didn't have access to them until after I'd heard the album.
The Adore demos didn't get leaked until afterwards. I remember it was during, I think it was while they were recording Machina, or right when Machina came out was when the Adore demos came out. And I remember I was one of the people that actually paid for them. Like there was one fan I think who coordinated with everybody else. Like, hey, like they're on eBay if we want it, but it's gonna cost this much money, and like, you know,
oh nice.
The people who were interested contributed like $10 or $20 each, and I was one of those people, so I got like one of the initial.
Well, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
But it's just so cool to hear. I don't know. I just think it's so cool to hear alternate versions of the songs that we've listened to over and over and know backwards and frontwards. So to the extent that there exists, like last week someone mentioned like a Butch Vig mix of some song. I can't remember which one it was, but anything like that would be totally cool. Different versions of the band in the studio playing anything, I think would get my fanboy geek like really riled up to be listening to that kind of stuff. So I think that's my optimistic hope.
Well, I think the biggest chance of that is going to be with Adore. So it's kind of interesting between Mellon Collie, Aeroplane, and then Adore, because it's kind of like opposite problems with each of them when you're talking about what they're going to include on the bonus disc. So with Mellon Collie and Aeroplane Flies High, it seems like everything of any reasonable like quality got released. So what else could there be? I mean, obviously we know there's more, but just from the fans' perspective, there aren't a lot of things that we have that the mainstream audience doesn't have, like there is with Pre-Gish, that sort of thing.
Right.
Adore is the other problem in that there were only 3 B-sides released. There was Czarina, Once in a While, and Summer. And we know of a few other songs, and some of them eventually got released. Like My Mistake got put on Judas O.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, there's a few.
There were a few.
Adore era song. And...
Yeah.
It's Soot and Stars.
Right. I think it is.
Well, there are some from the Adore Demos CD that like, well, whatever. Yeah. I think that's a good point, but nowhere near the amount of that's gotten dumped on us from like Gish and
right. So I think there we will at least either get a bunch of songs we haven't heard, or what I think is more likely, because of what we know about the Adore recording sessions, I think we may get a lot of alternate takes of album tracks, which will be really interesting because, you know, from everything we heard about the Adore sessions, it sounds like, I mean, they had different drummers, they had different producers. I mean, who knows what's in there and what versions of things sound like. And I personally am holding out hope for a version of Blissed and Gone that doesn't sound like it was recorded in a robot factory.
Oh, I love that version.
I'm hoping that Carrie Brown remixed the whole album, and we can just, like he did for Daphne the Senseless.
I'm hoping for actually Adore. This is what I'm hoping for. I really want like a song that Courtney Love and Hole ultimately ended up recording for well, God,
Celebrity Skin.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I want. That would like really get me going. I don't know why.
The Corgan version of Malibu would be awesome.
Yeah. That's what I want.
A Billy Corgan album of covers. That would be interesting. I guess we got some covers on Aeroplane Flies High.
Yeah.
On The Future Embrace.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. And live they've played Don't Let Me Down and stuff.
Well, and they released the studio cover version of Rock On Judas O. So I wonder if they recorded any of those other like live cover songs in the studio. Maybe there's a studio version of Godzilla.
Wasn't there a joke on Twitter about some ridiculous like a Smashing Pumpkins cover of something from when they were in the Siamese Dream recording session?
Yeah,
Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama.
That wasn't a joke. That was real. But I think Billy said in one of his interviews that got released this week about how people are making a lot more out of it than it really is. It really was just
them screwing
around. But I mean, the Rock On one, that was like they actually went in the studio and recorded it for real, which I thought was kind of unusual. I didn't think that they recorded any of their live covers in the studio, but maybe they did. This would be a good opportunity for those to see the light of day.
Yeah, can't wait.
Well, finally, Billy tweeted yesterday that there would be a video soon for a still unknown song that features some of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling Since there was already a video for Glow, I think we can rule that one out, but a lot of speculation has been going around that Freak might be getting the video treatment. What do you guys think is going to be the mysterious June video song featuring some wrestling ladies?
It seems sort of crazy to me that it would be. I mean, I know that he has said that he would release 2 videos for Freak. That song came out a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really the one. I think I'm gonna call shenanigans on him. Like I just don't think that's cool. I don't know. I feel like it should be a tease for Oceania. I mean, I think that just makes more sense from a publicity standpoint in pretty much every respect. I just really feel like that. So I mean, I'd be borderline disgusted with Billy if it's a video for Freak. I mean, that song has already been in the charts, out of the charts. It's not that it's a bad song. I like the song for the most part, but I just think that would be silly.
It'd be, it's a little late in the timeline to go back and dredge up Freak again. So yeah, because he was talking about doing a video last fall. Or maybe even was last summer, and now it took him this long to get it together. So I think it's probably likely that his original plans might have been modified to
Billy's plans modified.
No.
What are you talking about?
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't have a good guess as to what it might be. I think obviously he's meaning for this to serve as some sort of bridge to Oceania, whether or not it'll be a song we already gotten or it'll be a bonus preview or something for a song that'll come out with Oceania. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I just think if you look at the like the way that videos are used in the music industry, it's usually to tease a song, right? Like I follow all the big pop artists like Lady Gaga, and usually like the song will leak or come out, and then the next thing that comes out is the video. Or sometimes it's the reverse order, but they tease you, they show you like 10-second clips of, here's Britney Spears gyrating in her newest video. Will she actually be able to dance this time? We're only going to show you 10 seconds so you can't tell, So, I mean, I just feel like it would just be such a bad move to release a Freak video. It just would be so stale. And I mean, I feel like there's been some like unkept promises there anyway. He promised 2 videos. One was going to be Justin Coloma. I think they said that. And then that didn't happen, obviously. And then he was going to recruit fans to do a conceptual video or some such. I don't know. I'm getting annoyed just thinking about it. The idea of it being a Freak video. I
don't know how
imagine.
It benefits the band at all to do a video for Freak at this point. I mean, Freak was the most successful of the Tiergarten songs.
Where did the suggestion come from that it might be Freak?
Just
Billy's
people
last
talking
song?
online because of what Billy said last fall about wanting.
Yeah, I bet it's not Freak.
Yeah, I could see him doing a video for Lightning Strikes or Owata since the songs just came out. Especially Lightning Strikes, because it got no publicity, I could see him thinking maybe, if we do a video, maybe people will go back and notice.
It also might be more appropriate. I mean, I don't really know what to expect from this wrestling video. It doesn't strike me as the right song for that, but maybe it'll be the dichotomy will be good in a way that I won't expect.
But I think it's much more likely that it's something from Oceania, although I don't know. I almost want, if they're going to do an album, to get no leaks and no previews or anything. If you're going to wait and release 10 songs at once in September, just release those 10 songs on September 1st so we can treat the whole thing as an album.
Yeah, although they'll certainly play some of them in August when they tour.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine. Well, who knows?
The other thing I've thought about is what about the possibility of that EMI is footing some of the bill for this, and it could be related somehow to the re-release project. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, thinking about it, if you think back to the videos that they've done since leaving the label after Zeitgeist, they had Glow and Super Christ are the 2 they've done, right?
Right.
And those were they both done by Justin Coloma? I think they were. Who's obviously in the inner circle of the band. He's a friend of theirs. I mean, videos are pretty expensive to make. And, you have to make that call as to whether it's worth it to spend the money. What's the payoff going to be for you
And he
paying a
said
director?
recently that he didn't think it was worth it, or he decided it wasn't.
Yeah,
There was some online interview, and he's like, it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah, he said it wasn't worth it. He had talked about, getting Justin to do another one or possibly getting a fan to do it. One thing that is sort of bothered me about it didn't bother me at first, but then the more I thought about it after the fact, when Billy was on Facebook and in December talking about, I want to hire fans to do all these projects for us, like make videos and work in the archives and, write stuff for us. And I'm just sitting here thinking, you want this because you don't want to hire professionals to do it. You don't want to pay anything, right?
That said, I think especially if you're releasing music for free, it makes even more sense. But don't you think the wave of the future is a lot of this fan involvement? I mean, I think there have been so many cool projects that the Nine Inch Nails fan community has gotten involved in and done, and editing videos from the perspective of all the fans, bringing their video cameras to the shows, and like remixing out, like Reznor put all the master tracks or whatever of some album online, and the fans can remix it, and there's now I think you can probably get the fan remix version or whatever. That kind of stuff seems cool, and I think it's a smart impulse to try to capitalize on the to the people like Monte or whatever are interested in working for the band, possibly for free. I think they're right to exploit that. No.
Well, I do. I see that point, but at the same time, I think Billy is so exacting. I think the level of quality that he expects, unless he hires somebody, I mean, he wants people who are really professionals who are going to put out really, really high quality work, and it's those kind of people want to get paid. I mean, I've said this before about my speculation as to why Lisa Harriton did not continue with the band, is that it's about the money. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just my speculation.
Or even
but
Ginger.
And Ginger as well. So I mean, obviously Ginger has the added stuff. She's a mom now.
What about this though? So happy Mother's Day to Ginger also. What about Virgin or whoever paid a professional, music video production company or whatever to make the Tarantula music video, which was fine. And then they did that fan contest where they released the beta footage or whatever of the band in front of a green screen playing. And do you guys remember the guy who won that contest with the meteors coming down and the city collapsing? It was totally awesome and 10 times better than the original Tarantula music video. That to me seems to suggest that a passionate fan absolutely can do something that is on par with what we've seen them pay people to do.
I think you're right that a fan can do a great job, and that's kind of what Billy wants. I think in Billy's ideal world, he doesn't have to pay to have a video done, and that fans will make videos of his stuff that are great. I think the issue is when he starts saying how he wants to hire them to do it. That's kind of weird.
Well, what was the deal with that Frank guy? Was he was like a fan that got hired through? I don't actually know the story, but it seems like that was something that didn't quite work out. Yeah,
Frank was a fan who Billy had a relationship with. Like, Billy knew him pretty well, I think, and trusted him to come do it. I don't think that didn't make sense. I mean, it's that kind of thing, the project of going through the archives. I almost think you wanted somebody who was familiar with the band's work, someone who you trust. I mean, those are the two big issues. Is you want somebody who isn't going to make copies of the stuff and post it online.
Right. But I just mean something about it.
And you want somebody who knows what they're doing. I don't think you need a professional archivist. I think for some things maybe you do, for restoring things. In that case, though, I think that someone like Frank can go through it and find, oh, this needs to be restored. Let's send this off to a professional, archival place to get restored. So I think that something like that makes perfect sense. But when it's when Billy talks about, hey, everybody, I want to hire somebody to do a video, that I could see him saying, hey, we're going to have a contest, make a video, and the best one we'll post on our website or something like that, it's just a fun thing. And then you take the best one that you think did the best job and use that as your promotional thing. And everyone kind of knows what they're getting at that point. The fans know they're not getting paid, and they're doing it just because of their love of the band. And the band knows that they're going to get amateur submissions, and maybe they'll get lucky and one will be really great.
Yeah.
But when you start like saying you're going to pay somebody, then it becomes a contract, and then it's like, oh well, you didn't meet our expectations, or this isn't as good as we thought it was going to be. It just gets kind of
That's fair.
uncomfortable.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you look at what happened when he, multiple times he's had like internet auditions. Obviously, it worked out with Mike Byrne, which I think is great. Do I think he has to pay Mike Byrne as much as he had to pay Jimmy? Probably not. But
I hear Mike's
the
a hard
last
bargainer.
time when he was gonna audition a bassist and a keyboardist, I mean, I think that the way that he's going about, like if he posted some kind of official press release and there was a submission process, but no, what he was doing was just like putting like, send me emails to this address or post stuff on YouTube. Like he's not, like the way that he's going about recruiting people is not the way that I would see to really reap the best talent. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm being really critical of him right here. And this guy that's about to do this video is obviously, Robbie Starbuck, is obviously like a huge fanboy, it seems like. Seems super pumped about it. He's like tweeting all over the place. So I mean, he's obviously done. I went and looked at some of his videos. I don't know if any of y'all had an opportunity to do that. I watched the one he did for Metric and the one he did for some guy, and Snoop Dogg was a featured guest rapper in it. So those were the two I watched, and they seemed, pretty well done. I thought it was they're very colorful. He seems to use a lot of color, and they were kind of cool videos. So I don't know, but I don't know. I just I think it's less the fact. I do agree that like fan store stuff can be great. Like a fan going through the archives, if you find the person who has a skill set you need, is great. But I'm just not sure that Billy is setting things up to find the right people with the right skill sets. And in some cases, I think he's like just looking for a cheap way out. Does that sound awful? But I don't know. So I'm excited that he's actually hired a professional, but that's why my whole thought process on this is he getting some extra money from outside? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But maybe he's going to be filming at the wrestling event in Chicago. You're going to that, right, Alex?
I'll be there. I got my ticket. Yeah, too bad we can't live podcast, but I'm sure I'll post a riveting entry on Hipsters United reporting what happens. Not really sure what to expect from that, but
maybe you'll be an extra. You don't know it yet, but you're going to be extra in the video for.
Oh yeah, maybe. Oh yes, gosh, I don't know.
You and Crotch and and what other the wrestler names?
If you worked on the proper
Crotch.
techniques for getting hit with a chair, make sure you.
Well, I've been to this place before, so I'm familiar with these wrestlers.
Oh, you're a wrestling fan?
Yeah, that would be that. Yes. I haven't been in almost a year, so I don't know. It's in a different place than it used to be, but. Last year it was in this place in Berwyn, Illinois, which is just west of the city and of Chicago. And I mean, literally, you can show up at the start time of the match and sit in the third row and pay $10 to get in, and it's like really crazy that the wrestlers are really good, but no one. I mean, it's like there'd be 200 people there, so it's not like the WWE. They fill the whatever amphitheaters.
It's not WrestleMania.
It's not WrestleMania. It's definitely like underground feeling, like in the middle of an Elks Club lodge wrestling, like there's a chandelier above the ring. But it's pretty cool. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine Billy Corgan like being. I mean, I guess there probably is some overlap. I've met a lot of people that go to wrestling shows, like heavy metal music, and that sort of maybe bleeds into people they might have Mellon Collie or Siamese Dream or something. So maybe people will be excited to see him there. I'd love to know how many people are going to be there because of Billy Corgan. And I guess we'll find out.
Well, hey, if there's only 200 people there or something, maybe you'll get a chance to interview Billy for Hipsters United afterwards.
That would be awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
I should bring my camera, of course. Great.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. As usual, you can leave your comments on hipstersunited.com. Our closing song of the week is Owata from the Chris Isaac Hour broadcast. which was from April 2nd, 2009. Good night, everybody.
And I'm very excited they're here with us today, led by Billy Corgan and Jimmy Chamberlain. This is Smashing Pumpkins.
Right off the silver screen into a moonbeam to the alien side. Catch out with Jesus, the stars beneath us. Oh, what a beautiful night. Cool in your pocket, you can't lock this night. Cool in your pocket, you can't lock it. You can't help but decide it's alright. So you rock it right. Cool in your pocket, you can't lock it. You can't stop this night outside. Oh, what a beautiful night. Start up the revelry, roll out the cavalry into the waters we shimmers of the cosmos, ripple the utmost on the quivering tide. Locks for your locket, you can't unlock his fist. Rocks for your rocket, you can't unlock it. Shocks for your socket eyes that shine. Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful sight. You are the way. Oh, what a beautiful night. Oh, what a beautiful sight. You are the way. Oh, what a beautiful night. Nights, what a beautiful night. Nights, oh, what a beautiful night. Oh, what a beautiful night. Oh, what a beautiful sight. You are to me. Oh, what a beautiful night.
Hipsters United podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Smashing Pumpkins, Virgin Records, or Warner Brothers Reprise Records. All opinions offered by panelists or guests of the Hipsters United podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of the Smashing Pumpkins. All audio during the show is licensed for non-profit use per the terms and conditions on the Live Music Archive at archive.org. Intro music is from the Machina 2 album released for free download on the internet by the Smashing Pumpkins in September of 2000.